and quickly go through the table of contents. So this is 2013 edition, as API advised. The new edition is 2020, but you have to study this one. So let's see what it's got. You go to table of contents. So the scope of this, the normative reference, terms definitions are very important. Welding inspection, before welding, what activities you need to do, like checking the WPS is all signed up, the PQR is attached to it, it's approved by the engineer. Look at the ranges, voltage, amperage, the bevel configuration, the type of material, and check that that actually the filler, the heat input, and preheat if it's required, that sort of thing. Check the welder qualification, see that the welder is actually qualified to weld on that position and with that process. And during welding operation, you check the preheat, the heat input, the welding speed, and then when each process is done, you do a visual check, make sure there is no high-low. And then at the completion, you do a visual check that the high-low, the crown is within the permissible, and if there is any welding defects, spatter, that sort of thing, undercut. And in case of non-conformance and defects, what you should do, ND examiner certification, we have 3, ND level 1, 2, 3. So you should know what each one should do, and say level 1 should work supervised, level 2 actually perform the test unsupervised, and level 3 normally does the procedures and the training. Any safety precautions? Welding process. The 8 popular one, shielded metal arc welding, that is used in the industry widely, gas tungsten arc welding, gas metal arc welding, flux core, submerged arc welding, and plasma and electrogas, that is less used really. You should know about the welding procedure, specification, essential, non-essential parameters, and you should know about the PQR, procedure qualification record, that actually qualifies the WPS, the test that is required. It's normally a tensile test, and then if there is a toughness is a requirement, then it's a Sharpie test as well, or heat input that need to be checked. And you should know how to review a WPS and PQR. What you need to look at is very basic things. It would be a single process, tube to tube sheet welding procedure. That what's the qualification for that? And WPS is a fillet weld, or is done on a heat exchanger and boilers. Welding materials, P number is for base metal, F number for filler metal. So this can be potential question. What number is for filler metal? Say you say F number. A number is a combination of P and F, because A number is the weldment, which is a combination of the weld metal, and then it's actually melted and combined, mixed with the base metal. So it's a completely different material. The borderline between the weld and the base metal. And you always have the highest toughness at that point, really, because of the difference in thermal expansion of the weldment and the welded and the base metal, which is solid, and the weld, which is melted. And then how you store and handle the consumables, welder qualification, WPQ, how you review a WPQ, see that the welder is actually qualified to that position, and the welding process, and the range. And these are all in actually ASME section 9 that API 577 has borrowed. And then non-destructive examination. You should know about discontinuities, material identification, and the popular methods like VT, visual, magnetic particle, penetrant test, eddy current less used, radiography, ultrasonic. Hardness testing, leak testing, welding inspection data recording. So you should know about the concepts. You should also know about the ND procedure, what are the essential, non-essential parameters. Remember that ASME section 5 is only for the procedure, it's not for acceptance criteria. The acceptance criteria is always found in If you're working on a pressure vessel, it's ASME section 8. If you're working on piping, it's B31.3. If a pipeline, is 1104. If it's a structure, say it's AWS D11. So that's where you find the acceptance criteria, not in ASME 5. You should know this. You should know about the metallurgy, structure of metals and alloys, physical properties such as density, thermal conductivity, mechanical properties such as tensile test, bend test, Sharpie test, preheating, post-well heat treatment to soften the material, hardening, the surface of the material, material test report. You should know what goes into material. The question could be very simple, like what is the symbol for iron? And that's Fe. What's the symbol for manganese? It's Mn, or magnesium, Mg, or phosphorus, P. Weldability of metals and high alloys, and then refinery and petrochemical plant welding issues, and hot tapping when you make a connection, branch to a vessel while in service, like a storage tank or something. And then they put a sub lesson on gas metal arc welding, short circuiting welding process. This is the only welding process that is very strict. You can't do a RT, you have to do a UT, because RT can detect lack of delamination, lack of fusion. In this case, it's difficult to find out. So, and then there is the terminology and symbols and etc. And then I got lots of figures how this welding process works. So you should know the advantage of welding process, disadvantage, and where they are used, that sort of thing. So it's pretty much similar, I would say, to other welding inspection courses. Like C-sweep, CWI, CWB, etc. But this is intended for operation and maintenance and repair welding more, rather than fabrication and construction, which is those welding certificates are actually aimed at. Now, although API has mentioned the only reference materials as 577, but I would recommend that you also study ASME section 5 and 9, because this is where all this information from API coming from.